But my beats, they are hard.
Hello. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It's the BCSN SportsWrap. Ryan Fulford and A.D. Drew doing our first show together for 2025. Few days in. Drew, what's good? How you doing tonight? Happy New Year. And let me ask this. How long do we say, I heard you ask this question when we actually, no, this isn't our first show of the year. Matter of fact, now I think about
it. It's our first Sunday.
First Sunday. Thank you for the clarification. Right. I was going to say, how long do we roll with Happy New Year? What's the time frame on that?
I mean, technically, you could roll with it until you see somebody for the first time in 2025. That's the technical term. Way up. But
see or talk to? What do you mean see? Like physically see?
See or talk to. First time in 2025.
Gotcha.
Okay. In a realistic time frame, a lot of us return back to work this upcoming week. So
yes,
this week it's appropriate to say Happy New Year to people. Realistically, I think by the time we get to the weekend, we should start phasing it out. King Day, it should be the unofficial end of the Happy New Year moniker. That's the unofficial end of which is January 15th. King's real birthday, not the holiday.
And King's real birthday is the 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
All right, see, I got that right.
I'll even let you slide to the official holiday.
Okay. This year is the 20th. It's
that Monday the 20th, which is Inauguration Day, which is also the day that it's kind of ironic that
that's interesting.
that we get this particular president taking office on King's holiday, but that is also the same day where we thought we were going to have a real celebration in DC when Howard plays Morehouse on January 20th, but somebody didn't do their half in making sure that celebration was over the top. So it's been a logistical nightmare for us at Morehouse getting everything done to get to DC for the weekend of the 20th.
Okay. I love it. Jeff Roberts says tomorrow is the end of Happy New Year. It's not even, you didn't even go a full week. Jeff's not even going a full week. It's like it's over. Hear you, Jeff. I'm gonna give it 1 day because it'll be the first day of school tomorrow. And then that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, and for some of us, like Mary, good to see you, Mary, heading back to school, heading back to work, heading back to school. Feeling like you already need a week off, man. That's the wow.
All right, for Mary and my other educators that we have out there, do they just have y'all going cold turkey, or do you have a day or two of in-house stuff, meetings, workshops, trainings, teacher planning days, Monday, or do they just hit you with straight snotty kids?
I wish I had a grace day or whatever you want to call it, teacher planning day. No, we go right in, school's back the second semester starts Monday. My lesson plans, which I've been working on and finishing up over the last few hours. I'm going now. Here's what I will do as sort of a buffer for me and the kids. I will have a exam review. Like we'll review their semester exams. Like a lot of them, some of them didn't do too well. And not that I can help them. Hey, look, they are what they are. There's no quiz, test corrections, but I'm going to give you a chance to go back over it, double check your work. Maybe I got something wrong in the grading because grades aren't final until Tuesday. So yeah, but no, it's hey, look, Monday night, I need y'all to read these pages and be ready to come in on Tuesday so we can start discussing and moving. So technically I am starting on Tuesday, but I'm going in on Monday, sort of going back over the syllabus, going back over the expectations, going to advise them. Hey, look, all the things that you didn't do in the first semester that I told you should do. Well, guess what? Now you get a chance to come into the second semester brand new.
You know what that sounds like, Brian?
What's that?
That sounds like a halftime speech.
Well, it is the halftime. Exactly. It's the, one semester to the next semester. Unfortunately, for those kids who didn't do well in the first semester, you're going to have to repeat that. You're going to have to repeat that. You're going to have to repeat that semester online or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Mary said the first day of school for pre-K. Oh, yeah. Kids going to be crying, talking about they got to go back in and see, what a mess. Anyway. Good to be back with you guys. It's been 2 weeks since Drew and I did a show on Sundays. We did get together on the 1st to celebrate B108 The Vibe, 25 years of B108 The Vibe. So hopefully you had a chance to do that. Yeah, I don't know how to solve that problem, Drew. It kind of flutters in and out. I don't know what that is a result of. I can't tell. Maybe it might be the video camera, that where the light, but the light is solid. So it's like, I think it's the camera on my laptop. I'm gonna have to break out the old
get your external.
I do have an external. I just rarely use it because my laptop camera has been so good for so long. Anyway,
gotcha.
So we go into the start of a new year. The football season is closed, but there's always news happening with football. It never stops. We're in the basketball season. Conference play started for all the conferences now. Obviously at the Division II and NAIA levels, they had already been playing conference games. Well, the MEAC and SWAC started their conference schedule yesterday. So we'll touch on a little bit of that. We'll kind of bump around a little potpourri action. We thought we were going to release the Black College Sports Network football awards, but I will admit I'll fall on the sword here. Yours truly didn't do everything. I did a lot of the stuff, but didn't do everything that Mr. Drew had hoped that I would do. So we don't have that stuff to talk about. Drew wants the nice packaging and stuff and all, so I ain't had time to do it. So, but anyway, we will talk about the nominees. How about that, Drew? We'll talk about the nominees because I don't think we've talked about that on any of the platforms yet. So we can talk about the nominees for the HBCU Football Awards from the Black College Sports Network, where we nominated the Coaches of the Year from the Division I and non-Division I levels, the Offensive and Defensive Players of the Year, the top 5 players, which will come from that, as well as the top 5 upsets from 2024. And so myself, Drew, many of the other contributors that you see on our various shows on the Black College Sports Network, we all kind of got together and I kind of held them down and forced them to all kind of make some votes. Everybody did real well, Drew. I'm actually surprised and pleased of the participation that we got amongst our contributors. So it's very encouraging going forward. Of course, in case you didn't know, our BCSN computer rankings, which we did give that out before we went on break. Of course, Jackson State, champions of the Division I level, and Virginia Union, champions of the non-Division I. Yes, and I noticed there's a lot of school closings going to be happening on Monday because I noticed there's a lot of snow in the Midwest and the Northeast, Drew. Aren't you glad that, well, hold on. Yeah, aren't you glad that you're not dealing with that?
Obviously, we grew up dealing with and not knowing any better in the Midwest where you and I are both from. The good thing, Brian, let me think about this. I'd much rather deal with snow closings than hurricane closings.
Why?
Snow closings, you know what's coming. You can prepare for it. And up in that part of the country, they have built-in snow days. They know they are going to lose X amount of days every year to snow.
True.
You know, down here in the South, we don't build hurricane days into our schedule.
Are you sure about that? I think we do.
You may have a flex day or two, but it's not an official hurricane day. But a snow closing, you're closed 1, maybe 2 days tops. You get a day here, a day there because they're prepared. They've got, if they have snow days, they've got salt trucks and everything else to be able to get out on the streets so the buses can run as soon as the snow clears. Hell, a hurricane come through, you might be shut down 2 weeks, Ryan.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The uncertainty of it, I think, is heavier.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you don't know how, obviously the winds. I put it like this: I've seen schools use more precaution and things not happen than things actually happen.
Yeah.
If I'm saying that right, you know what I'm saying. But
and I hate to say this, you know what a lot of that goes back to, Brian, with the schools using precaution and telling kids don't even come to school or sending them home early when they know imminent weather may be in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to Enterprise, Alabama. What's that's been probably over a decade now, when the tornado hit Enterprise High School in Alabama. And they had one, it may even be almost 15 years now, but they had one and they kept the kids in school, and there were multiple deaths at Enterprise High School because the tornado literally tore the high school up. Now I know when I was in Alabama, if they think that wind is coming, they putting them kids on the bus and sending them home. They don't want that. They don't want that liability. They don't want that responsibility. They canceling games. They canceling after school practice. They canceling the band. They canceling everything. Get them kids out of here. I don't care if they mom ain't at home. They ain't gonna be here. Get them home. Get them off them buses. Get them buses parked. And a lot of different school districts have taken a similar approach to it when it comes to weather.
All right. Good point. Good history lesson there. It makes sense. Let's get into a little bit of the stuff that has happened over the past couple of weeks that you and I in this space on Sunday nights have not talked about, and primarily centers around HBCU football coaching. Now, I had a spreadsheet, or not a spreadsheet, but I had a share doc. I don't know if you're able to pull up the share doc that has the listing, because I want to kind of get a feel for who we have still open, the spots that we have open. And I think at one point when we started this exercise,
would that be on the year in review sheet, or is that a different
possibly
sheet?
I think it might be the year in review sheet. Take a look at that. No, not that, not the year in review sheet. It'd been the other one. It'd be the show right for the end, the December 22nd show. But okay, here's where I think we're at. Okay, so Mike, I'm gonna go in order as it comes to my mind here. We had Mike Vick, being hired at Norfolk State. Then they even had their introductory press conference for Mike Vick. I think that was the week of Christmas, if I'm not mistaken, right? That might have been on a Monday before Christmas. Then we had, after Christmas, I believe we had Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State being hired, which that one surprised me.
Back up, you forgot one before Christmas.
Before we talked about it on our show?
Yes, after our last show, but before Christmas.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Gregory Ruffin at Shaw.
Okay, put a little asterisk by that. Gregory
Yeah,
Ruffin,
that was the 23rd, I believe.
Okay, he had accepted or believed to have accepted the job at Shaw. Okay, so moving forward into the next week, then we saw the Tremaine Jackson position where he took the job with.
That was before Christmas also. Remember, that was before our last show, because we talked about him on our last show, because he took the job that Saturday night.
All right. Again,
and yes.
I don't have the exact. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. I knew, like I said, I didn't prepare all this in chronological order, so I'm just kind of going off memory. So appreciate the correction. I do know he was on Doc's show. I couldn't remember whether he was on. I know it was like a Tuesday, so I just couldn't remember a Tuesday or a Thursday when he was on
Thursday.
The sports. It
was
a Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, day after Christmas, we had him on.
All right. So we had Tremaine Jackson over at Prairie View A&M. Then the following week, so let me see, what does that mean?
That was all the week of Christmas.
That was the week of Christmas. Okay, the following week, we had Sam Shade finally being offered, taking the job at Alabama A&M, which then left the position open at Miles College. And then Miles College, moving very quickly, I might add, on January 3rd, named Chris Good the new head coach at Miles.
Bryan, you're in the South. It's good.
Chris Good. Good. Good?
You know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. You know, I'm not familiar with the man. So I mean, if it's good or good, I'm gonna screw that up. He's the new head coach at Miles. We'll talk about him in just a second. So and did we already previously mention Adrian Jones, who it took? Yeah, I think we did. We didn't mention him a little. So
the city.
To my knowledge, that leaves Fort Valley State open.
Central State open.
Wait,
hold on, let's back up. All of the Division I jobs are taken now.
Well, wait a minute. Who took the Mississippi Valley
That's
State
right,
job?
Valley, except for Valley.
I was going to say, thank you.
Like I said, all the real Division I jobs are taken.
Oh, stop it. Mississippi Valley State still open.
Yes.
And then we have Central State still open. Fort Valley State still open.
Lane
is still open. And again, Shaw is still open.
Because
Coach Ruffin, which is interesting because last week's show, I know you were working to try to get him on the show, and he didn't. I guess I heard you on Doc's show. The communication never went through, so he wasn't there. Obviously, so we don't know what happened, but anyway, he formally resigned. I guess is that the right way of saying it?
No, he declined. Declined.
Declined. Okay. After accepting it, later declined it due to health reasons. Okay. Woo. Yeah. Yes, definitely, Russell, he is. I appreciate it. Thank you for recognizing that. Okay. So this week, we've got, according to the guys over at HBCU Premier Sports and More, they listed, we've got 4 press conferences happening tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Monday will be the introductory press conference for Sam Shade at Alabama A&M. On Tuesday, you will have the intro press conference for Chris Good.
Good or good?
Good. I think
we'll find out.
Dollar bet it's good. Dollar bet it's good.
Alabama is good.
Dollar bet it's good.
And you forgot I lived in Alabama for a number of years, for over a decade. It's good.
But you technically don't know. So this isn't bad odds for me because you technically don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go. His press conference is on Tuesday, January 7th. Jermaine Jackson's press conference is on Tuesday, January 7th at Prairie View A&M. And then the Deshaun Jackson press conference at Delaware State is on Wednesday, January 8th.
Well, let me shout out Coach Green right quick. We gonna talk about y'all. Don't think we haven't been noticing y'all down at EWU, Coach Green. We'll talk about y'all later on in the show when we get to the basketball section.
All right. So what's the takeaway, Drew? What do we make of the new coaching hires? What do we make away of the introductory press conferences? I know there was I was thoroughly entertained and somewhat disappointed by the Michael Vick press conference, but it was what it was, right? Those moments you don't get back. What's your takeaway from the hires? What surprises you, et cetera, et cetera?
While a lot of people were the Deshaun Jackson one surprised me out of all of the hires that we've had thus far over the last couple of weeks, because no one knew Deshaun Jackson was interested in coaching at that level. No one even knew Deshaun Jackson even had a year of coaching in his belt, although it be at the high school level. Hell, no one even knew Deshaun Jackson knew where Delaware State was even located at. But he is now the new head coach at Delaware State. A lot of people I had initial pushback, I guess is a good word, with the NFL hires. We'll just call them the NFL hires. The non-experienced NFL hires, because we have had some NFL.
That's a better way. That's a better way of saying it.
The non-experienced NFL hires. Well, and I said this on Dr. Cavill's show. Both those institutions, Norfolk State and Delaware State, have done it every traditional way and have failed. They have hired an experienced winning coach. Mm-hmm. They've hired a hot shot coordinator. Mm-hmm. They've hired position coaches. They've promoted from within.
Yep.
But they had 2 choices, Brian: hire a successful high school coach or hire an NFL guy.
Yeah.
Both of them lean towards an NFL guy. Probably because the NFL guy would probably have a lot more resources to bring to the institution than the high school guy. So I'll just leave it right there.
I'm fascinated to see what these men can do and how they build their staff. Because the success of people like Deion Sanders, Eddie Robinson at Alabama State, Eddie George at Tennessee State, was in large part to a successful staff that they built around him. Well, maybe not so much in the case of Coach Prime, but he still had to go get a good staff. But the other two gentlemen, Robinson and George, very decorated careers in the NFL. Now, what I think is fascinating to kind of watch and see is the level of, here's the one thing that I think separates good coaches, Drew. And I think this goes across the board. High school, college, pros. Your attention to detail. The coaches who are the most successful are the ones who have the highest level of attention to detail. And that starts not only in practice, but also in what you ask of your program, what you ask of your coaches, what you ask of the players, what you ask of your administration, right? All of the details matter. And I think if Jackson, Vic, for two names, if those two guys, if their attention to detail was good through their time in their professional ranks, I think they're going to attract quality coaches, but they're going to have to also be able to hold those coaches to a higher level than, what they had. I think I always go back to, remember when Magic Johnson said when he went into coaching that the toughest thing for him was asking guys who don't have the same work ethic that he had to have his type of work ethic. And I think for any if you've been a professional athlete, Drew, I think that means, first off, you are one of the 1%. You're the 1%ers.
You're the 1% of the 1%.
Okay, so
the 1%ers go to college, play in college. The 1% of the 1% make it to the league.
Yeah, well, okay. So that means you're not only just because talent alone doesn't keep you in the league. We know that. It's talent versus the work. And so and I think that's what's always interesting to see. Can those guys get young people to buy into that? And not just the talented 1%ers, but the middle tier guys. Because again, when we talk about details, if you can get the middle tier guys to raise their level of play and be attention, because for the middle tier guys, they're the ones who need to be detail oriented. They need to understand the process of the details, right? And so when you're telling a guy how to play a particular position, no matter where it is on the field, and that's the one thing about football. Football is, there's so many different strategies and uniqueness that comes with football that you really have to be process and detail oriented. And so, look, I wish them the best. I think it'll be interesting to kind of see. But I just if it were to start falling apart, we'll come back and look at and ask ourselves the question: how detail oriented were they?
Hey, let's keep something in mind. Both of these coaches are going to be CEO type coaches. They're not going to be the X's and O's. They're not going to be the ones drawing up the plays, drawing up the schemes. They're going to be the ones managing everything around the football program. Pay attention to some key things. A, who's a DFO? That's Director of Football Operations.
If they have one. Because that's not standard in every program.
Right. All right. So let's even see if they have a DFO. That's number one, because that's the person who's going to handle a lot of the logistics. Look and see who the coordinators are. Those are going to be Those are the coordinators are the people who really coach a football team. You say what you want to. Very rarely do you have a Willie Simmons type who's the head coach, the play caller, and the quarterback coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most head coaches are just managing their people and rely heavily on their coordinators. The coordinators put together the game plans, offensive, defensive, special teams coordinator, and usually special team coordinator is really a position coach who's elevated to special teams coordinator, like a linebacker coach or a running back coach or something like that, who just happens to coach special teams also. So those are the kind of hires that you really want to that you need to keep in mind. Bryan, I want to bring this up. Johnny Thornton asked a very important question, I think.
Yeah, I saw
and
it.
You saw it. He said, winning football record, the only measure of success for an HBCU head football coach. Johnny, depends on where you're at. If you're at Florida A&M, if you're at a Tuskegee, if you're at an Albany State, if you're at a Jackson State, Grambling, even Tennessee State, yeah. So a winning football record is the only measure of success. At Southern, even though they haven't won one in a while, Southern all about the chip. They all about the chip. And there are a few other proud programs out there like that. A South Carolina State, maybe of late NC Central. Hey, okay, let me ask A&T how they feel after having all that success. Now, when you take other programs that have been basic, that we'll call them bottom feeders, for lack of a better words, you know, Benedict was the exception. They came from not being a successful program straight to the top, up under Chennisberry. Other programs, you're happy with if you get there are a lot of programs who are out here who are happy with the three victories a year, Bryan. 3 key victories: homecoming,
I don't know about that,
rival game, and the classic, whatever your classic is. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of fan bases who are happy if you win those 3. Win homecoming, win the rival, win the classic.
First off, the Benedict thing. Benedict had success with Mike White before Chennisberry. They had some success with Mike White before Chennisberry came on board.
Bryan,
Mike White's last couple years weren't very good, and then, but there were some good years. There were some maybe not as good as what Chennis did, but there were some very good seasons that Benedict had. So it's not like they weren't like Livingstone where they were spending a decade or so at 2 or 3 wins. They haven't not Valley. Valley. We talk about Valley in the years of losing. Benedict wasn't that.
Yeah, but Benedict has had 2 blips on the radar. You had the Mike White blip, and you had the Chennisberry blip. That's been Benedict. I don't
know much about Benedict. I don't know their whole history. So.
Bryan, they didn't restart their program until the 90s. So you have pretty much lived their history.
Oh, all right.
Well, go ahead.
Let me rephrase. Is it the only measure of success? I don't believe that it's the only measure of success. It's the priority 1 measure of success. So with that being said, let's break it down how we might break down a student's grade, right? Like a semester grade at our school, you get 40% of your grade is based on tests, 30% is based on quizzes, and then the balance is like homework, right? Which is really what, 30. So no, 45, 35, and 20. There
15.
it is. So 45 is test,
45.
No. I'm telling you what it is. I'm telling you. At our school, 45% is tests, 35% is quizzes, and the balance, which I think is 20% then is homework. So
okay, so let's use your.
No, let me finish. So I'm using that example to say priority one is winning. That's your 45%. That's your. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Can I break?
Let me finish.
Okay.
I'm saying it's winning. Winning. Having a winning record is priority one. Now, is it the only measure of success? No, because the other measures of success, fall into that 35% and that 20%. Your graduation rate, your staying NCAA compliant, not being on academic probation or any other NCAA recruiting violations, maybe even your fundraising and how you network with the boosters. All of that stuff will be why we see sometimes coaches who will be around for, I'm not going to call no names, but we've seen some coaches who have had marginal 500 careers, like maybe 1 or 2 games above 500. Then maybe they have a bad year, 1 or 2 games under. Then they come back and have 3 games over 500, right? But they still haven't won a championship, Drew. So if the question was championships, I would say no. I'm just saying winning is the priority one. It is the high grade marker. 45% of your job performance is based on can you win games. Now, that means the other 45 minus 100 is what? 65%. That means the other 65% of your evaluation is all those other things that go into being a successful program. That's just how I look at it.
All right, Bryan, I'm going to use your same 45, 35. What is it? 45, 35, 20?
20, yeah.
To me, the 45 is what you do with your conference. The 45 is what you do in your conference. Take a South Carolina State, making it to the Celebration Bowl with a 6-5 record. Take a Howard, making it to a Celebration Bowl with a 6-6 record. 45% is what you do in your conference.
Okay, because that conference championships, yeah.
So the 35% is what you do in those, like say those 3 type games that I mentioned to you. That's that classic. Okay. That's homecoming. That's that rival game. And okay. what you do when you play up. That's that 35%. Are you competitive when you play up? Playing those check games. That other 20%, Bryan, is all that other crap that you're talking about. Do you graduate? You ask a fan, do you care if your graduation rate for your football team is 40%, or do you care about being in that Celebration Bowl? The honest fan is gonna say they want to be in Atlanta. I'm sorry to say it, Bryan. We as educators want to make sure that our kids graduate and become productive members of society. But Joe, who's paying $50 for that ticket, all he worried about is, can I get to Atlanta and cheer on my team?
Well, even that, I think you're oversimple, because if you're an alum, the alums understand that it's all about most alums understand that this is still a college. And that's
Bryan, I'm going to tell you something. Most alums don't even know, half the alums don't even know how to even get a ticket to a football game. Because when they was in school, you remember back in the day, Bryan, everybody was rushing on Thursday and Friday before the first football game, trying to get over to financial aid or to student affairs or whatever, so I could get the little sticker on the back of my ID, so I can get to the game for free. And never have you even wondered, how do I purchase a ticket for a FAMU football game?
Well, all right.
That's unfortunately, that's how most of us are. We go to games when we are fresh because we living on campus. We might go to games as a sophomore because we're still either on campus or close to campus. By the time we get into our majors, juniors, and senior years, outside of homecoming, we ain't going to a football game, bro. that young alumni. You go back to that first homecoming after you graduate. I need y'all to put it in the chat. 5, 6, 7 years after you graduated from your institution, were you really going back to the football games, especially if you didn't live close to where you went to school at?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point for young alumni.
I say no. I know.
That's a small sliver. That's a small sliver.
It's bigger than what you think, Brian.
Alumni base.
It's bigger than what you think. I know I did not go to a FAMU football game for 10 years after I left Tallahassee. Okay. And I left after I left the Florida, Georgia region. Because when I was in Georgia, I was still close enough to come back. But when I went back to the Midwest for those years, I didn't even sniff a FAMU football game.
You know what? I know why this thing, and I'm gonna tell you what. I was reading this report here from HBCU Sports on Chris Good, and again, it is good, and I say it's good because good. I knew the name sounded familiar. Good was drafted by. Thank you. That's why. Yes, I'm just reading the article. Drafted by the Colts in the 10th round of the '87 draft as a college standout at Alabama University, played his entire 7-year career for my Colts, finishing 7 interceptions, 6 fumble recoveries, and it is Chris Good, by the way. So yes, it is good.
That's an Indianapolis pronunciation.
Oh, whatever.
So somebody's gonna get up. Somebody's gonna get up on their press conference tomorrow and say "Good."
My God. I hope so. Okay, so he's let me see, just a little bit. Let me see. Good. More recently, just kind of looking at his trajectory here, I noticed I just read something about that he was the new. Wait a minute, where did I just read this at? I just read that he was running a prep program, and I think he was also coaching. Yeah, he was the defensive coordinator for the Birmingham Steel Dogs of the Arena Football League. Let me see. He was running a good elite prep postgraduate academy for student athletes. He's an Alabama guy, which I think is important, as was Sam Shade, an Alabama guy. So interesting to see how that works out, how it will work out for Miles. All right. Well, all right, let's kind of move forward here because we chewed up a lot of time talking about that, and kind of want to move the conversation forward a little bit. We're still waiting to see some of those positions. The transfer portal is active for colleges.
Let's talk about some of the stuff that's happening with the NCAA.
Okay, sure. I was just going to mention some of the transfer portal stuff.
Okay,
and you know what? There's a lot of stuff I've seen. I don't know. There's so much happening in the transfer portal. I don't even know. Somebody's got to have I just want to know who's got the good transfer portal tracker. That's what I want to keep up with, because all these great graphics. Like I see the graphics. Everybody has a statement. I've seen the graphics from T-Set, who jumped from Southern to Grambling, which, isn't that the most, to me, it's always funny seeing people jump from Southern to Grambling, Grambling to Southern. It's like
jump to the rival.
It's borderline incestuous. That the way they be jumping from one school to the next within the state of Louisiana. I'm like, a little nasty. But anyway, coaches, players, doesn't matter. All right. What in particular regarding the NCAA, Drew, has been the most interesting thing? Because there's a lot there, and I feel like there's something new that's coming out every week regarding the NCAA.
I'll tell you what, Brian. We know there's the 5-year rule. We know there's the JUCO rule, and who knows what's coming down the line with the NCAA convention. But let's talk about it after we take our first break, Bryan.
All right, you want to take a break? All right,
Bryan, we've been on here for 50 minutes. It's time.
Well, that's because anyway. See, we are finishing, and see, this is going to be short because I was going to let when you miss a break, you just carry it all the way through, Drew, until the top of the hour. This is the kind of stuff that ends up running us long. We're not running long today, Drew. I'm telling you, we're not running long today. And so we're going to take a short break. I'm going to play one 25-second, 30-second commercial, and then we're coming right back. You'll like this ad that's coming up. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. We're going to take a very short break because Drew wants to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment.
Tickets are on sale now for the 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T, featuring Morehouse College and Tuskegee University. Don't miss this action-packed event happening at NBA All-Star 2025 and filled with competitive matchup and marching band performances celebrating HBCU pride. See you in the Bay.
I guess you weren't playing, Bryan.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. We've taken our mandated commercial break, and we're right back to it. All right, Drew. Let's get into the NCAA. Some of the stuff that's happening in the NCAA. Go ahead.
All right, we'll start with the Christmas present to all junior college athletes that occurred on December 23rd. The NCAA Board of Directors approved a blanket waiver granting an additional year of eligibility to former JUCO transfers in similar positions to Vanderbilt's quarterback Diego Pavia, opening the door for a wave of college athletes across all sports to spend one more year in college athletics. According to an NCAA memo, the waiver extends an extra year of eligibility in 25-26 only so far to athletes who previously competed at a non-NCAA school for one or more years and otherwise would have exhausted their NCAA eligibility following the 2024-25 season. So let's break this down. And we all know this comes from a lawsuit that Pavia filed in November with his eligibility. So let's break this down. And I hope I'm not reading too much into this, but I don't think I am, because this is something that's key. It says to junior college transfers is similar eligibility, but it also says later on, it goes and says competed at a non-NCAA school for one or more years. I'm going to come back to that. Basically, if you are a senior for this calendar year, 24-25 athletic season, you now have the option of continuing to play in 25-26. That's it so far. That is it so far. So everything out there when we're talking about people can be playing 5, 6, 7 years, that is not true as of yet. Put a pin in that. I also read something else into this. It's non-NCAA school for one or more years. NAIA. If you played at an NAIA and then transferred to an NCAA school, if this is verbatim, like they said, they also get an extra year. Because it says at a non-NCAA school.
Yeah.
Not just at a junior college. So let's see how this kind of stuff potentially affects the portal and what this does to the high school athlete who's a senior, what this does to recruiting now, because that spot, the COVID seniors are done this year. There are no more COVID years. There are no more COVID waivers supposed to be issued after May, June of this year. Everybody should have exhausted their COVID eligibility. So now, this brings it interesting is how these coaches are going to be recruiting. You initially thought we're going to see a shift back more towards a few more high school athletes. Coaches still want those seasoned athletes. They want those 20-something year old athletes versus 18. And those of us know that a 21-year-old body is different than an 18-year-old body, especially when it comes to sports like football, baseball, and basketball. So something to keep in mind with this. Then that was the New Year's gift to everybody. And give me a second to pull this up. Now, we know the NCAA is considering adding a 5th year of eligibility without using the red shirt. So this came 2 days ago. In light of recent legal decisions that have granted junior college athletes an additional season of collegiate eligibility in 2025, the NCAA is reportedly considering wholesale changes to their eligibility requirements. According to college basketball insider Joe Rothenstein, the NCAA is weighing whether or not to add an additional year of eligibility to the current 4-year limit for all players across all NCAA sports. The topic is expected to be discussed earlier this year. Right now, especially on the Division I level, you currently have it's 8 semesters to play 10, which basically means you have 10 semesters to play 8. I'm sorry. So basically, you have 5 years to complete 4 years of eligibility. So now they're talking about shifting to 5 years. So there's a lot going on. What I need everybody to do is to pay attention to Nashville, Tennessee next week. Not this week, next week. NCAA convention is going on in Nashville, Tennessee next week. I want to say it's like the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Don't quote me exactly on the dates, but I know what's going on. There's going to be a lot of chatter. There's going to be a lot of discussion going on at this NCAA convention. When this convention is over, expect some news to drop. And if I'm able to pick up anything from that NCAA convention that I can share, I'll be more than happy to share it with people. Your thoughts before I give my questions that I have with all of this stuff going on.
So I it's kind of funny. I'm gonna respond to a couple of things. I like what Russell had said there. If a player plays 4 years at JUCO, he can play 4 years at D1. First off, I don't think you can play that many years JUCO.
Once you get 60, you can't play at JUCO. Once you get 60 credits.
Yeah. But I appreciate what he was hinting at. Look, I think the NCAA is moving to a point where they're going to have to create an age or year limit, and or maybe even a combination of a year limit. I mean, I look at my own personal life in college, and I'm not ashamed to say that from the time that I walked across the high school stage to the time that I finished my matriculation through college, it took me 6 years. Now, it would have taken me 5 5.5, but I did an internship in the fall semester in my 4th year, or I think it was in my 4th year. So I missed a fall, right? No, it was my 5th year. My 5th year, I missed the fall. The fall of, and so because I chose to do an internship in the fall, it delayed my graduation. But I understood that was part of the deal. It was an experience I'd never pass up. And I'm glad that I did. But what it says is, going into college, you go in thinking I get in and out in 4. Well, I mean, there's some degrees and some majors where getting out in 4 is realistic. There are many others where 5 is kind of a norm, right?
The standard.
I think so, more so than not. And I think 6 is
reasonable. 6 is reasonable.
6 is reasonable because you got to think you may take a semester off. You may, whether it be for financial, medical, internship, you may take a semester off. Okay. And so that might delay you. I think it's time for the NCAA to really kind of cap it and say, in order to participate in NCAA athletics, you have from your high school graduation date 6 years to participate in NCAA athletics. 6 years with 5 years of playing time. Like, you can participate. You mentioned those 10 semesters. You can participate in 10 academic semesters with an athletic program. That gives you 5 years of eligibility. And let's just say maybe because of a medical injury or something happens that you end up not being able to play for a semester, right? So whichever one comes first, your 6 years or your 5. After that, hey, poof, go out into the world. Go do something else. Be great at somewhere. Be great doing something else. I think it's kind of, you've opened the door. The NCAA opened the door with the COVID. And we understand why they did it. And you're never going to get it closed. But until you create some real form of change that's really going to get things back onto a reasonable pace in 5 years, because high school kids they're kind of in a tough spot as it is. They've been in a tough spot, but it just is what it is right now, right? But I just think it's time for the NCAA to say either 6 years, and I would even go so far as Drew, I'd say 6 years with a 5-year playing window. All right, that's my thought.
Bryan, what you're saying sounds good in theory. Except, here's the problem with that, Bryan. Everything that you're talking about is ultimately seems like it's going to have to be collectively bargained. That I don't think the NCAA is at the point.
Between whom?
They finished right now, especially the way the NCAA is. Excuse my language. Is getting their ass beat in court. I don't think they can blanketly, uniformly propose any type of rules or restrictions. You know who these people sitting on these do you know who these judges are? You know who these judges are, Bryan?
Alums, boosters, donors. I don't know.
You know who a lot of these judges are? A lot of these judges is that guy who's at the end of the bench on the football team, basketball team, baseball team, whatever, who is pissed off because somewhere down the line the NCAA ruled against them or something, and now they're getting their get back. Be it whether they're Republican or Democratic judges. A lot of these judges, go look it up. A lot of these judges are former collegiate athletes. So they understand this plight. And not only that, Bryan, you have to think about this. All this stuff is revolving around one thing, Bryan. This is NIL at its worst. Because we used to think that the life-changing money for these athletes was when they go pro. Now, These 18, 19, 20-year-olds are getting life, I won't say life-changing, but they're getting life-altering money to compete for your favorite university. A lot of these kids. And all this that we're doing, Brian, is for that 1%. Because 99%, these Division II, Division III, NAIA athletes aren't reaping the benefits of this. You know the only reason that this quarterback filed this lawsuit, correct? Because he's going to make more in NIL money by having an additional year in college than he will when he graduates and go work a 9 to 5 for somebody's corporation. Because he is not going to the league. I'm sorry. So he recognized,
not as a quarterback, probably
that probably not as a water boy. But anyway, he realizes that he is not going to the league, and he's the money that he's making now, he'll never be able to make that kind of money again. Lennon, you starting some best, Lennon. Man, take that comment off the screen, man. But anyway, Brian, I think you hit it. We have the 5-year experiment. We know what 5 years looks like with the COVID year. Thank you, Dr. Gaville. Why is this a standard? Because somewhere back in the early 1900s, there was no limitation at the turn of the 20th century. That was something that came in the early 1900s to standardize everything. You used to be able to play collegiate sports when you were 14, 15 years old playing for a high school. Go look it up in the early 1900s. This is something that came up to standardize everything back in I think probably might be pre-NCAA, back when everything was governed by AAU. Yes, AAU used to govern everything before the NCAA came along.
I remember, yeah.
So go look that up. That's when all these rules came in as a governing body. And when did all these rules start coming about? Because of football. Because they were trying to find a way to make football safe in the early 1900s, when President Theodore Roosevelt was looking to outlaw football. That's what all these rules, all these standards, all these presidents and coaches came together. And one of the outcomes of that was this 4-year rule. Because I can go back and I've done it. I've seen way back in the day where there were stories of players playing 5, 6 years, not knowing what school they played at, was transfer portal before there was transfer portal. But that's where all this stuff came from. Now it's gotten so used to being so regulated. Why? Anyway.
Well, Drew, but the NCAA works on behalf of the colleges and universities. Okay, so that's first and foremost, right? We got to remember that. But I think the NCAA still could grab hold or grab more seeming control of things by mandating. I mean, look, they can set the standard however they want to, and say to participate, and assuming that you get the agreement from the college presidents, because at the end of the day, that's who the NCAA works for, right? The college presidents. They work with the college presidents. Okay. They can create their own level in saying that for all of these sports, I still maintain that putting a year mark on this would rectify this to a large degree. It would leave schools an opportunity to schools and conferences, however they want to do, to figure out all the minutia of how kids transfer and all that other stuff. But I just think at some point you got to create it. I mean, again, this isn't sounds weird to say this. This isn't pro sports. It's still based on the biggest thing, which nobody talks about, Drew. You still have to be enrolled at a university. You still have to get enrolled at the university, right, in order to be able to play. You still have to be working towards getting a degree. That's sort of the I think we lose sight of that to some degree. You know, now there's various ways that you can be working towards a degree and where you choose to get your degree from. I mean, there are guys who have been at 3 different schools in 5 years. Okay, that's fine. And I see Doc saying that the legal system has ruled against their policies over the last decade.
That's my point.
Yeah, I don't know how you can. I don't know how, if you create a standard of play, and see, I think what it is, you know, again, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn last night. I stayed at a different hotel. But I do think there are opportunities for the NCAA to reorganize and create a clear window of your playing eligibility.
Let me give you a little bit of a history lesson, Brian. 1906, the Intercollegiate Athletic Association of the United States, IAAUS, the predecessor to the NCAA, established rules that limited eligibility to 3 years. Though some of those rules, freshmen were not eligible for varsity competition. Remember, there used to be freshman teams way back in the day.
Yep.
Graduate students were not eligible. Transfers from other colleges were restricted. Athletes were banned from playing on any other team than those representing their own institution. This was in 1906. In 1910, the IAAUS was renamed the National Collegiate Athletic Association, NCAA. In 1972, Brian, so that was the standard until 1972, Brian, when the NCAA granted freshmen eligibility in football and basketball. And in 1973, we went to the current 3-tier system, Division I, Division II, and Division III system, which was different from the university and college system that previously existed prior to 1973. And then, of course, we know in 1978, they decided to split Division I up into Division I and 1AA, which is now FCS and FBS now. So just a little bit of a history lesson on how we even got to the point where we have these rules like we have with Brian. And the thing is, these rules were good for the time in the early 1900s. Now, as our society has shifted, it has shifted to the other side, Brian. So it's going to be interesting. And let's still keep this in mind, Brian. We still don't know what's going to happen with junior college. When you mix all this in, you can miss. You're talking about potential junior college. I mean, there's a lot that's going to have to be resolved and resolved soon, Brian, because they have to get these rulings out within the next couple of months, because these colleges need to know how they're going to plan things in the future. And Brian, let's add the icing on the cake. You still got the House settlement that's coming into effect this year also. There's a lot as a college administrator that's on our plate now, Brian.
All right. Fascinating. So you said that NCAA convention is when again?
I know it's in Nashville.
Well, look, this is what I'll
It's January 14th through 17th in Nashville.
I'm gonna say this to everybody, and this is sort of we talk about New Year's resolutions, right? Let's make a resolution to not think that the world of college athletics is going to crumble underneath its own feet based on all of these rulings.
It's a $1 trillion industry.
Thank you. That's where I was going to go. There's a lot of money being made right now. And that's really what's creating all this. Nobody, when there's no money to be made, people aren't fighting very hard or very loud. But just take it all in. Let's not overreact and overreach. And what I do think is interesting is the last group of people that will be affected are our HBCUs and other low resource, low division level programs. Again, start from the top and work our way down. And so wherever you look at HBCUs, bottom third of the hierarchy, maybe, that's when it'll eventually find its way to us. I just think it'll be interesting. What is helpful and interesting is that for HBCUs, whether it be especially a lot of the administrators and coaches within the SWAC and other conferences who are part of these NCAA committees, this is where we talk about that inclusion, Drew, and being able to kind of find out what is happening. That's what's helpful. That's what's helpful is so that you're in the room and being a part of the representation or the representative parties of things that are happening. So but again, let's
Bryan,
let's make a solution to not say that the world of college athletics is not going to end next season. Yeah. How about that?
It's not going to end, but it's definitely going to shift. And I'm not saying for the good. I'm not going to say for the bad. There will definitely be a seismic shift over the next 2 years when it comes to collegiate athletics. And Bryan, this is not an HBCU problem, although we talk about it here from an HBCU perspective. This is going to be for other MSIs, for small, outside of about 40 to 50 institutions, Bryan. All of this stuff that I'm talking about is going to affect the other 1,000 institutions out there. There are about 1,400 institutions, NCAA, across all the levels. This is going to affect the other 1,200 institutions.
All right. Let's take a break and shift away from this because I did want to make mention of some basketball stuff that happened and also kind of share with you guys the BCSN College Football Award nominees on next week's show. Over the course of the week, actually, you'll see the release of the actual names who won the awards, and we'll talk about it on next Sunday's show in detail. But I did want to at least kind of give out the nominees from that perspective, and then kind of talk briefly about some of the basketball news and notes from the past weekend and kind of what to kind of pay attention to going forward. So with that said, we'll take our next break. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment, as soon as I can find the commercials. All right, there we go.
This is Bryan Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan Fulford, A.D. Drew here, our first Sunday of the 2025 year. Drew, the name of the show title says New Year resolutions. Give me a New Year resolution that you would like to see or recommend for, whether it be an HBCU team, coach, program, something.
Can I start off with one for fans?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
okay. Your resolution needs to be patience with your athletic department as they go through the changing landscape of the NCAA. For the teams, give the fans something to cheer about. Yeah, give them something to cheer about instead of talking about. That should be your resolution for the teams. Your resolution for the players. Find you a real NIL and make it your resolution that you get it in writing. Because I've been reading stories every day from student athletes who were promised X, promised Y, promised Z, and all they get is a ham sandwich out the deal.
Yeah.
They get a ham sandwich and they don't even eat pork.
Russell Hayes.
Russell Hayes trying to start some mess.
There you go. Morehouse and Clark going to the MEAC.
That's more of a wish than a resolution.
Is that a wish or a resolution?
That's a wish.
A resolution. That's more of a wish. I do agree with the getting your NIL in writing, getting those terms. That's a great. How about I got this New Year resolution here for athletic departments. When introducing a new coach, make sure everybody is on the same page. All your stakeholders within the athletic department are ready for the influx of excitement that comes with the new hire. Now, maybe you don't have season ticket packages ready because you don't know all the games. But you know what you can create, Drew? I think you can create a season ticket slush fund. Like whatever tickets were last year, make it a 50% deposit on season tickets for the new year. Something that one gets people excited. You know,
how can you make a deposit if you don't know how many games you may be having at home?
You can draw the minimum. You could say that the minimum is 4 games. I'm using a number. Okay, use a number. I don't know, $50. Hold you. Hey, look, in the NFL they do that all the time. Matter of fact, I made a deposit on some season tickets in the NFL, Drew. And you know what? It was almost like a promissory note. Matter of fact, I need to call because I have money just sitting there. Because the whole idea is I put this deposit in, and then when season tickets become available, they call me and they say, oh, yeah, hey, Mr. Fulford, your season tickets, would you like to purchase this year? No? Okay, well, we'll keep your name in the pot then. So they're holding on to my money.
And we're going to keep your deposit.
Right. I can't get it back. But you know what? It goes towards season tickets whenever the season tickets are available. So what I'm saying is, why can't you do that? Why can't you put a $50 advancement towards season tickets? And then whenever the season tickets are figured out and calculated and all that stuff, all the fun stuff, then guess what? That $50 you paid is subtracted from the total. I don't know. You don't think you can do that? So again, I'm just giving athletic departments something to say. Hey, your fan base is excited. You got all these new introductory press conferences that'll be happening. Whoever's doing the interview, whoever's doing the announcing, whoever's doing the communicating to the fan base and to the media, and make sure you're letting people know, how you can buy season tickets. Put your deposit down on season tickets for the 2025 season by calling 1-800 blah blah blah, or go to this site www.somethingathletics.com. I'm just saying, Drew, you gotta have a plan. You can't miss the opportunity to while you have people excited about your program. And guess what? Maybe they don't choose to buy season tickets this year. Hey, that money just sits in a pot, and worst case, it becomes a donation, or you get to maybe purchase it next year.
Before we get into basketball, can I get a breaking story on baseball?
Baseball? Sure.
Yeah, college baseball.
College baseball, okay.
Yeah. As we know, the NCAA in I believe it's next year, is going to go with a
26.
Yeah, and for the 26 season.
Okay.
Is capping the rosters at 34.
For baseball. Okay.
For baseball. Because scholarships are not limited. You can give scholarships if you opt in up to the roster limit, which is going to be 34. But your roster size, your fall roster size, the NCAA coaches, the Baseball Coaches Association, has said 38 is now the new fall roster size. So 4 people who participate in fall ball will not be able to participate on the spring roster. So, and we know that there's always 1 or 2 that you're going to lose to some type of injury in the fall. It happens, especially in baseball. So you can have 38 on campus, 34 can be on your final roster. So, and with them cutting it down to this 34 up to 38 man roster, there's going to be a lot of talent out there, and hopefully some of this talent lands at our HBCUs during baseball season down the line.
Okay. India, come on, Jeremiah, let's hear it. If you got a resolution for how about your athletic program? How about that? You making resolutions for other people's athletic programs? How about you make a resolution for your athletic program? But anyway,
I want to make a resolution for FAMU that they sell out those floor seats that they created at the Lawson.
Actually, most of them were sold. I didn't see too many empty tables.
What was the price on those? Do you know?
I believe it was $250.
$250 per seat or per table?
Per seat, I believe.
That's for a seat.
They had three tiers for season ticket packages. You could do there's the $100, which is the season ticket package, $250, which is for the courtside thing, and then $500, I think, came with a seat on the floor, if I'm not mistaken. And there were people who had those kind of seats, and there was like $500, I think. So, yeah, I mean, look, it was only the amount of seats, about 2,000 seats from out of the main.
It wasn't like we was using them anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. So you create an opportunity to drive more revenue by giving a little perk. I mean, they had food, they had drinks, snacks.
What kind of drinks? Good. What kind of drinks?
You know what? I wasn't even paying attention, to be perfectly honest with you.
I was just curious if they had adult drinks.
I do think they did have adult drinks. I do think they had adult drinks. Yes. Yeah. I think they did.
Yeah. And if you got that picture, you might want to show everybody what you're talking about, Brian, because people are like, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah, hold on. Let me, if I can, I can pull it up. Hold on. You asked me to do something I wasn't ready to do. All right, let me go through some of the HBCU football coaches award. You start pulling up some basketball stuff, Drew, while I go through the nominees from the HBCU BCSN College Football Awards. These are the nominees. For coaches on the Division I level. Of course, with the BCSN, everything, we have Division I and non-Division I level. Of course, non-Division I is D2/NAIA. The nominees for Coach of the Year on the Division I FCS level, they were Chennis Berry of South Carolina State, Eddie George of Tennessee State, Terrence Graves of Southern, Eddie Robinson Jr. of Alabama State, and T.C. Taylor of Jackson State. The nominees for Coach of the Year on the non-Division I level, Maurice Flowers of Johnson C. Smith, Dr. Henry Frazier of Virginia State, Teddy Keaton of Clark Atlanta, Dr. Alvin Parker, Virginia Union, Bobby Rome of Florida Memorial, and Sam Shade of Miles. All right, those are the coaches of the year.
All right, Brian. Oh, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
I'm just reading the coaches. Did you want to comment on the coaches or anything?
No.
Okay.
I was getting ready to switch up. I was going to transition to basketball.
Oh yeah, no. I'm trying to read. I remember. I got offensive and defensive players of the year, and then the upsets of the year. So, let me get through these real quick. I'll be quick. I'm just going to read the names here. I try to do them in alphabetical order. I'm just going to read the list. It is what it is. You're right. It's the first show of the year, Jeremiah. You got us. Busted. I'm trying to make sure we get out of here at 8 o'clock. So let me read that. D1 Offensive Player of the Year. Okay, now out of this list will come our Offensive Player of the Year, as well as the 5 guys who make our top 5 players. So the nominees from this year were quarterback Eric Phoenix of South Carolina State, running back Irv Mulligan of Jackson State, quarterback Draylon Ellis of Tennessee State, quarterback Daniel Richardson of Florida A&M, wide receiver Giovanni Gibson of UAPB, running back Jamari Taylor of North Carolina Central, return specialist Travis Terrell of Jackson State, and kick returner CJ Evans of Tennessee State. D1 Defensive Player of the Year nominees are Kelby Givens of Southern, Ashad Hall of South Carolina State, Aaron Smith, South Carolina State, Traquan Thomas of Alabama State, Andrew Jones of Grambling, Boogie Trotter, Tennessee State, Kenny Gallup of Howard, Kevrick Wiggins Jr. of Jackson State, and Jeremiah Williams of Jackson State. Those are the D1 Defensive Player of the Year nominees. All right, moving over to the non-Division I side for the Offensive Player of the Year, the nominees are Jada Byers of Virginia Union, Reginald Vick Jr. of Virginia Union, David Wright of Clark, Armand Harris of Clark, Brandon Marshall, Fort Valley State, DeJuan Blair, Fort Valley State. DeJuan Bell. Let me get that right. DeJuan Bell. Brevin Campbell of Johnson C. Smith, and Joel Felder of West Virginia State. And then on the defensive side, the non-D1 Defensive Player of the Year nominees, they are LaShawn Young of Miles, Jermichael Rogers of Miles, Isaac Anderson of Virginia Union, Benari Black, Johnson C. Smith, Israel Wokocha of Benedict. I may have said that wrong. Nick Blake, West Virginia State. Sadiq Salawu of Bowie State. Bruno Onwuazor of Virginia State. And Justin Fleming of Winston-Salem State. So those are the names. Of course, we'll release those names. We'll release that as well. And then we'll also release the top 5 HBCU football upsets of the year as well, as voted on by the contributors and hosts of the Black College Sports Network shows. All right, so there's that. All right, Drew, what do we got basketball-wise? Let's talk basketball here in these final 20 minutes of the show while we got it.
All right, we'll start off with men's basketball. We're just go in alphabetical order. We're going to start off with the CIAA. And I'm going to just quickly go down the scores and the current conference standings.
Are we going down scores? We're doing scores? We're reading scores? Is that what we're doing here, Drew?
I mean, I'm just going to go quickly down the scores and the standings.
Oh,
all right. Okay. Non-conference matchup, Virginia Union 70 lost to St. Thomas Aquinas 81-74. In conference play, Virginia State defeated Johnson C. Smith 75-68. Bluefield defeated Claflin 85-82. This actually was all on yesterday. Bowie State defeated Fayetteville State 69-66. Elizabeth City defeated Winston-Salem 82-56. And Lincoln of PA defeated Shaw 76-68. Quickly looking at the current CIAA standings on the men's side. Virginia State and Lincoln, PA sit atop of the North Division with perfect 4-0 records. And Bluefield State sits with a 2-2 conference record. Virginia State's 9-4 overall. Lincoln, PA is 9-5 overall. Bluefield State is 8-5 overall. Switching over to the South, Brian. The South is the epitome of mediocrity when it comes to basketball in the CIAA.
Wait a minute. So they're still doing North and South in basketball?
Yes, it's still North and South in basketball. Here we go. Gotcha. And when I say the epitome of mediocrity, listen to the mediocrity. Fayetteville State, 9-5, but 2-2 in conference. Claflin, 9-7, but 3-3 in conference. Johnson C. Smith, 6-5, but 2-2 in conference. And Shaw, 7-7 and 2-2 in conference. Those are your plus 500 teams in the CIAA. Any comments, or should I jump over, Brian?
What I will say is interesting. I just quickly went over to the stats. You know, Bluefield State is averaging 95 points a game.
And their football team was averaging giving up 95 points a game. So
oh,
I'm sorry, I couldn't help that one.
No, I thought that was pretty interesting. But here's the thing about that, Drew. You won't see too many times that a team be number one in points scored and also number one in points allowed, while they are scoring 95.6 points a game, which is number one in the CIAA. They are allowing 89 points a game, which is the worst points allowed average, defensive points allowed in the conference. So I mean that's an incredible margin, but the margin is actually the fourth best in the conference. And Livingstone right now has the best margin in terms of offense versus defense with a 13.0 margin. Livingstone has the number 2 offense and actually happened to have the number 5 defense, and that's points allowed. So there you go. I thought that was kind of interesting stat.
Yeah. Brian, don't go by points allowed. You looked at the key stat. What's the margin?
Yeah.
Because if you're giving up 95, defense is optional, but they
right.
kick in defense when they need to. Let's move over quickly to the SIAC as we continue on with Division II basketball. These were all from yesterday. I'm going to come back to that game for obvious reasons. Tuskegee defeated Savannah State 54-41.
I wonder what game you're referring to.
You know what game I'm referring to. 54-41. Fort Valley State defeated Lane 69-63. Kentucky State 82. Benedict 63. Clark Atlanta 81. Spring Hill 76. Central State 61. Allen 55. Albany State 84, Lemoyne 80, and the game that I glossed over was Morehouse defeating previously unbeaten Miles 77-75 in overtime.
That leaves one unbeaten left.
And we're not going to talk about my neighbors. We're not going to talk about those disrespectful neighbors.
When is that game?
Both those games occur in the month of February.
All right. So, we gotta wait to see. All right. Well,
yeah. Matter of fact, February 1 and February 22, if I have the days correct.
All right.
February 1 is at those other cats' place, and then February 22 is in the house.
Okay.
Yes. Quickly, conference standings, since you wanted to mention them.
I just brought it up. You didn't have to keep going.
Our neighbors who share the block with us, 9-4, 6-0 overall. Morehouse 76, 5-1 in conference. Albany State is 86 overall, 5-2 in conference. Edward Waters 8-5, 4-2 in conference. Switch it over to the West. Miles 9-3, now 6-1 in conference. Tuskegee is 6-6, 4-2 in conference. Kentucky State is 8-6, 5-4 in Conference. That takes care of your SIAC men. Now, moving over to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Excuse me, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. My page is loading slow here. Y'all gotta forgive me.
I was gonna say I got the scores. If you just want me to read the scores,
okay, I've got them now. From Saturday.
This was the start. This was the start of conference play. So.
First day of conference play. South Carolina State 86, Morgan State 72, Norfolk State 81, Maryland Eastern Shore 59, Coppin State 63, North Carolina Central 61. Howard put a cool century up on Delaware State 100-94. So standings, this will be real fast. All 1-0 teams. Norfolk, South Carolina State, Howard, Coppin. Everybody else 0-1. So,
but mention on the overall record, because I think very much so, like in the SWAC, there's only one school that went into conference play with a winning record, and that was Norfolk State, who entered the non-conference with a 9-7.
Right, and increased to 10-7. Right. 10-7, South Carolina State 7-9, Howard 6-9, and Coppin State doubled their win total to 2-13.
Hey, the beauty of conference play. Hey, you remember when South Carolina State was? I don't feel like it wasn't just but a couple years ago. Remember when they were one of the worst bottom 5 basketball programs in Division I? I mean, they were down there with that.
Yes.
That was like maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. It was a previous coaching administration. I know that. Now look at South Carolina State. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Right. Exactly. All right. Let's switch over to men's basketball in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. That School on the Beach 62, Florida A&M 55. Prairie View 73, Grambling 55, Southern 67, Texas Southern 58, Alabama A&M 89, UAPB 79, Alabama State 84, Valley 55, Jackson State 72, Alcorn 69.
Jackson State getting their first win of the season. Did you see how happy they were? Where they were dumping water buckets on Mo Williams in the locker room.
When you played 13 check games, it's totally understandable.
Was it 13 though?
Yes, they're 1-13.
What are 13 check games though? I'm looking at the schedule now.
About 10 of them were check games.
Put it like this. I'll say this about their non-conference. They didn't play any Division II or NAIA or non-NCAA, non-NAIA schools. They played all legitimate Division I programs.
And you know what else they also did, Brian?
Yeah. And they were all on the road.
I was going to say, they played them all on the road.
Yeah. Jesus, man. Yeah, boy. Y'all. So, yeah, congratulations, Jackson. Congratulations, Mo Williams. I mean, that home debut against Alabama State, that better be a packed facility there on the 11th next Saturday. Jackson, it better be packed, because we talk about road warriors. I remember one of the FAMU teams did this one time. I think it was our men.
What?
Well,
I think it was one year both the men and the women didn't come home until January.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah,
but hey, congratulations! You got what I mean. All of that is a wash. You start 2025 with a win. What do you mean? Stop lying? What am I lying about? What am I lying about? I'm telling you what did I lie about, Jeremiah? Just reading. Drew is reading the scores, and I am just relaying the information that's here. I don't know what I'm lying. Anyway, right. Continue on.
All right.
It seems to think I'm lying about something. I don't know what he thinks.
let's switch over to women's basketball.
Well, hold on, Drew. You skipped right over the NAIA because I only mention this because I've seen this young man's name pop up several times on my timeline. And he's a young man from Southern University, New Orleans. And if I said the name, you know who I'm talking about. Jamal Gibson.
Mr. Double-Double.
I heard you mention this before. Let me see. And I saw from last night, Suno had tweeted this out. Suno Knights Athletics. The tweet reads, "What's there to say? He's the real deal with 979 career points after dropping a career high 41 points against Russ College last night. Dominated the game in the paint, locked up his 44th consecutive double-double, and has 349 points and 249 rebounds midway through the season. He's 6'8", 41 points, 17 rebounds, 3 assists in a 103-90 win for Suno over Rust. Jamal Gibson, very interesting young brother. That's all I can say. And if you know, you know. But I don't know too much about his story, but I will be investigating more and trying to learn more about Jamal Gibson and his story. And I'm sorry. Let me say before you get back. I'm sorry. It was not Gatorade. It was water. It was water, Jeremiah. It was water. I'm sorry. It was not Gatorade. It was water. And it's on video. So I just want you to know it's on video. So before you tell me I'm lying about that, it is in video. I saw it. It happened. It was hilarious. But again, congratulations. All right, carry on, Drew. I just thought I had to mention that before you move into the women's basketball.
Well, let me go back to the men since you're making me go to them. Let's go to the men.
Look at this. That's called tampering, Edwin, that's tampering. That's tampering. Y'all stay out of that man's DMs. Y'all can't have him at Southern. Now you want to take him at Southern. Y'all probably didn't want him originally, which is why he ended up at Suno, New Orleans.
Yeah, that's why he had to go to the other Southern.
Yeah, now you see what he's doing, and you're like, oh yeah, we'll look past a few things and we'll bring him over. Yeah,
at least his credit's gonna transfer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the HBCU Athletic Conference. Actually, let's start off. Let's go back to Friday, the HBCU Athletic Conference, because they're in the midst of a pod where they'll be playing over the next 4 days. So we're going back to Friday. Men's basketball: Philander Smith 96, Oakwood 59, Suno 91, Wilberforce 82, Dillard 86, Voorhees 83, Wiley 62, Talladega 57, Steelman over UVI 80-68, and Tougaloo over Fisk 81-77. Moving on to Saturday, and these pods were played at either Steelman or Talladega. Then I'm going to mention all these games for Friday and Saturday. Saturday, you had Tougaloo 82, Voorhees 56, Dillard 83, Wilberforce 76, Steelman 98, Wiley 97, Talladega 74, Philander 67, Suno 103, Russ 90. That was the game you just mentioned, Brian. And UVI 75, Oakwood 73. So moving on, a couple of our other HBCUs on the NAIA level. Let's move over to the Red River Athletic Conference. And in the Red River, On Saturday, let's see, did we have anybody play in the Red River? None of our HBCUs in the Red River played on this past Saturday. So we can skip right over to Red River. Moving over to the Sooner. We're looking for the Langston Lions. And let's see. Langston played, but there was no score posted from Saturday on the NAIA website. I don't know if you might be able to find that on by going direct to the Langston site, Brian. See if they have the score there.
What am I looking for? I got distracted. See, Jeremiah.
Langston.
Jeremiah's got me. He's got me going. He's got me going now, Drew. I'm sorry. I was distracted. You want to know about the women or the men?
Well, men, but if you're there, you can give both.
This is fascinating radio that we're doing. Fascinating podcast stuff here. I love it. Yeah, no scores from the January 4th game was postponed.
Okay, probably due to weather. There's a lot of weather in that area.
Yeah, postponed is what it says on the site. That's on the men's level and the women's level. If it was a doubleheader, I'm going to assume that. How about the women are 12-1? Just in case you didn't know. We'll try to be a little bit better next week, guys. I'm sorry. It's a rough start. Rocky.
And last NAIA, for some reason, the Suns conference stuff is not posting to the site. So Florida, I cannot tell you what Florida Memorial score it was, but they are 2-2 in conference, 9-4 overall.
This is why reading scores is this is rough. Oh my God!
Do we want to give the women some love, Brian?
Yes, I what do we want to mention? We just did all that for the men. Do we want to just mention a few notes? I did want to
just go over the standings for the women.
Yeah, go over the standings. Just the big story. I know the Jackson State's coach. I know Jackson State finally got their coach got her 100th win. I'm aware of that. So congratulations to where is it at? I'm looking at it right now. Find it. What was the score in that game? They played Alcorn. They won that game too. So
yeah. Well, while you look that up, I'm gonna start with the CIAA conference standings. First place, North Virginia Union 4-0, 10-3 overall. Bowie State 4-1, 10-7 overall. Virginia State 3-1, 9-3 overall, and Elizabeth City is 2-2, 5-7 overall. Moving down to the south, Fayetteville 3-1, 75 overall. Shaw 3-2, 5-8 overall. Claflin 3-3, 75 overall, and Livingstone is 2-2, 4-9 overall. All right. Moving over to the SIAC. Look at there. Coach Green, you still on? That would be Edward Waters, Clark Atlanta, and Allen all tied at 4-2 in the East. Clark Atlanta is 10-4. Edward Waters is 7-3. Allen is 8-4. Moving over to the West, Miles 5-1, 7-3 overall. Central State 5-1, 6-5 overall. Lane 4-3, 8-5 overall. Spring Hill is 4-3, 5-8 overall. Moving over to the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, Brian. Women's standings. Talk about we had not one but two teams who came in with above 500 records in non-conference play, Brian. That would be Norfolk, who came into conference play at 12-4. They won. They increased their record to 13-4. And Copper State came in with a 9-7 record in non-conference. They also won to increase their record to 10-4. Other 1-0 teams in the BAC are Howard at 8-8 and Morgan State at 8-8. So the women in the BAC came in with respectable non-conference records, Brian. That's the conclusion that we could take away for the women in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. And finally, going over to the SWAC. SWAC, Alabama A&M is 2-0, 95 overall. FAMU 1-0, 4-8 overall. Alabama State is 2-0, 4-10 overall. Jackson State 1-0, 3-9 overall. Texas Southern 2-0, 3-10 overall. Grambling 1-1, 4-9 overall. And Southern is 1-1, 3-12 overall, Brian. And finally, go ahead.
I'm just going to mention for the
NAIA.
Yeah, for the SWAC, for the women, of course, Thursday is the second. This past Thursday was the first day for the solo games. I'm just going to do a quick glance here at some of the attendance numbers. Now, I'm going to chart this, and the only reason I'm going to chart this, Drew, because I just think it's interesting to kind of chart it. Of course, January 2nd was the first day of the Thursday solo games for the SWAC women. And, I don't know. I'm not going to use these. Here's a new resolution. I'm going to fight hard against using the preface students weren't on campus. I'm not going to use that. Okay. Because there is a community that is still around. And if the community wanted to come out and support, they could.
Have you seen some of the community surrounding some of our SWAC schools, Brian?
All right. I'm just saying. Some of
our schools are real rural. The whole community probably did come out, and you still didn't have anybody.
You stretch. I want statistics. I want that. I feel like sometimes you stretch, and I think you
Brian.
You apply every city, every HBCU is not in Tuskegee or wherever Tuskegee, Alabama is. It's not that rule.
Brian, Alcorn State, Valley, Grambling, rural.
All right. Yes, Edwin, I appreciate that. Yes, okay, that's a good point. I'm going to chart it against you want me to go 2 years ago, or how about I do the last 2 years? How about I do that same game last year and 2 years ago? That's what I'll do, Edwin. Thank you for that.
Well, I think the reason he's saying 2 years ago because of the schedule flip, those games would have been played around the same time 2 years ago.
Okay. Good point, Edwin. Okay, good point. 2 years ago. All right,
yes.
Good point. All right, so I'll look at it 2 years ago and this year. All right. All right, go ahead, Drew, because what I was going to say is kind of pointless, but go ahead.
All right. HBCU Athletic Conference women's basketball standings. Stillman 7-1, 12-4 overall. Dillard 6-1, 9-4 overall. Tougaloo 5-2, 8-6 overall. Talladega 5-3, 5-5 overall. Wiley 5-4, 7-8 overall. Fisk 5-4, 5-10 overall. Voorhees 4-4, 8-4 overall, and Rust 4-4, 5-9 overall. Boy, they missing Eric Jackson over there in Holly Springs, Mississippi, real bad right now. Anyway, moving on down the line, soon Red River Athletic Conference. Oh, that's the River States. That's the wrong conference. No wonder they didn't show up. Xavier is sitting in second place. They are a perfect 10-0. All right, Brian, I need you to explain this one to me.
Mm-hmm.
How is Xavier 10-0 in conference, but listed in second place, but LSU Shreveport is 11-1 in conference and listed in first place?
Because that conference is choosing to rank standings based on wins and not percentage. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. 11 wins versus 10 wins, even though the percentage of being unbeaten should rank over 90%, but, whatever. They're going by wins.
You selling it. I don't know if I'm buy it. Anyway, Xavier is a perfect 13-0, Brian.
The SWAC does the same. The SWAC does the same thing.
Yeah, but that's only when teams are tied with the same identical percentage. They put the wins higher. If you're 3-0 and I'm 4-0, my 4-0 is going to be above your 3-0.
Yeah.
But anyway, Xavier is a perfect 13-0 in the season. I think that's a story we need to start following, Brian. Other teams above 500 in the Red River. Houston Tillotson is 6-5 at 7-7 overall. Paul Quinn 6-6, 7-8 overall. Those are above 500 teams in the Red River Athletic Conference. We did mention Langston earlier. They are 8-1 in conference, 12-1 overall. They sit in third place in the conference. And yes, if we're going by losses, Brian, all three teams, Team 1, Team 2, and Team 3, all have one loss. The 10-1 team is listed number 1. The 9-1 team is listed number 2. And the 8-1 team, which is Langston, is listed number 3. So miss me with that one, Brian.
Okay.
And finally, Florida Memorial, also a story we need to follow. They are 4-0 in the Sun Conference, 11-1 overall. And
let me know when you're done.
You can go ahead. I was going to pull out the NAIA rankings, but keep going while I look for.
Well, I was gonna just because I wanted to celebrate Jackson State's first win of the season. I've got live video footage to confirm that it wasn't Gatorade, that it was water that they used to celebrate the victory, a close win over Alcorn. Wanted to kind of confirm this and make sure it wasn't just me. Good win. Congratulations to Jackson State and Coach Mo Williams on that victory. So there you go. Just wanted to confirm that it was water and not Gatorade.
Yeah. The next set of NAIA basketball rankings come out on January 15th. Both men and women. They last released some ranking on December 11th, so I'm not even going to read those because those rankings are so old right now, based on wins and losses.
All right. All right. Drew, we got to get ready to get out of here. I got to get in some. Got to get ready for this big Sunday night football matchup coming up. I'm so upset at the Raiders. Messed up my good 14 parlay because Antonio Pierce. Look, I saw somebody. Who was it? Who would have just said this? Should Gerard Mayo have been fired after one season? No, he shouldn't have been. But if he got fired after one season, I'm willing to bet $1 right now Antonio Pierce won't make it to Monday.
How about Brian? Gerard Mayo should have never been the coach of the Patriots because they should have never let Bill Belichick go. That's the question that you need to ask.
Look. There you go. Right there. See? How you talking? All right, I just hit okay. But anyway, yeah, it'll be Black Monday for a few
unless you're Gerard Mayo, who didn't even make it to Monday.
Didn't he make it to Monday? Did he make it
to the team plane?
Cold. Well, it was a home game, so he didn't have to get on the plane. It was one of those things.
Did he make it out to?
Can we see you in
the office? To his F-150?
Can we see you in the office? Can we see you in the office?
Yeah. Now, look, you hint to all coaches when the administrative assistant starts saving paper boxes. You know, the big where you get the 10 packs of paper in the big old box, Brian. When they start saving those in the storage room, they're saving those for a reason. That's all I'm gonna say. Warning: start saving those paper boxes.
Who you got tonight? Vikings or Lions? I'm going Vikings.
I think so. Lions. The injuries. The Lions need this game more than the Vikings because of the injuries that they've sustained.
Oh man! All right. Yeah, and I'm.
You got to get up in the morning, Brian.
I got to get up in the morning. Look, I'm gonna make a prediction here. Okay, that now that the playoffs are set, right in football, pretty much,
except for the NFC.
Well, yeah, but
we know the teams. We don't know the order based on tonight's game.
Here's my prediction: the Vikings are going to be the 1 seed, and I expect an NFC Championship, Vikings and Eagles in the NFC Championship game. And I'm looking now for futures on the Vikings to the Super Bowl. I really am.
Brian,
I think that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen.
Brian, as long as Patrick Mahomes stays healthy.
I'm talking NFC. I'm talking NFC, Drew. I'm not, you know. AFC, I'm not going to bet against Mahomes. I'm not going to bet against Mahomes. Not yet. Especially not with not seeing as how they're the 1 seed and all roads go through there. Oh, my girl just won a Golden Globes. My girl just for most likely for Lioness. Zoe Saldana just won a Golden Globes. Anyway, all right. What's Jeremiah saying? All right. Chuck says the Lions. All right, we got to go, Drew, because we'll be here forever just rambling at this point, and that's where we're at. Obviously this week upcoming, Drew, you've got the press conferences, which will be interesting. We'll see if there's any new movement on those Division II coaching hires in football. Will Valley name a coach this week? That'll be to be determined. Oh, you're choking. We'll all be paying attention to the SWAC on Thursday to see how the schedules look. Jackson State women hosting Alabama A&M. That should be a good one. Jackson State has been the standard in women's basketball. Here comes Dawn Thornton.
The new standards in Huntsville.
Look, don't crown them too soon, Drew.
Bryan,
I know everybody is ready to crown Dawn Thornton and Alabama A&M. I would just slow down, use a little caution.
Bryan, were it not for Tamika Reed over the last 5 years, Dawn Thornton would have been the talk of the SWAC.
I'm gonna reserve my comments for later. That's all.
All right. I do want to issue one challenge to all of our
BCSN. And hold on. And I'm gonna say that. Nope. I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna hold my comments because the fact that you said that, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until next Sunday. Go ahead.
All right. I just want to issue one challenge to my BCSN followers for the new year, Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
I challenge each one of the BCSN people, especially our subscribers, to bring another subscriber with them to our show next week.
I love that.
To bring another person, not another subscriber, to bring another person. That's your challenge, BCSN subscribers. Bring us one additional person to the show for next week.
Well said. I didn't finish the schedule, but Jackson State hosting Alabama A&M women. Grambling State hosting Florida A&M women. That'll be a good game. I'll be watching. Valley hosting Texas Southern. Alcorn State hosting Alabama State. And Southern hosting Bethune-Cookman. I'm going to tell you now, that's a heck of a schedule. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 10 of the 12 SWAC teams playing on Thursday.
So who's the rival? Who's the rival game that's playing Saturday?
Who's not there? Who did I not mention?
That means there's a rivalry game Saturday.
Well,
a travel partner game, rather.
Arkansas Pine Bluff, and who is their travel partner?
Isn't it Grambling?
Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Prairie View were the only two teams that I didn't mention in that contest. I don't know how they're doing that because Arkansas Pine Bluff plays Texas Southern and Prairie View plays Valley. So I don't know. But those would be good games. Schedule. I don't know what time the Jackson State Alabama A&M is scheduled to tip. There's a TBA on that one. The Grambling FAMU game is a 6:30 Eastern. Valley is 7 Eastern. Alcorn 7 Eastern. Southern 7:30 Eastern. So, all right, we'll cap it at that. All right. Oh, you guys are drinking the Kool-Aid. Oh, I can't wait. What was the attendance at the FAMU game? Let me see if it'll pull up here real quick. 2312, EA, 2,312.
It looks like 312 in that gym though.
Yeah, stop it, True. Come on, don't do that. It looks like 312.
It really does, though, right? You know, it's a 10,000 seat arena.
Well, technically only an 8,000 seat arena because 2,000 seats were knocked out. So there you go.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, it did. All right. We'll talk more statistics about attendance later. Here's another thing you got to remember about those attendance numbers. If I went and looked at the men, I bet I'd see that same 2312. How do you distinguish when you have double headers? Drew, you're an administrator. How does that work?
No, you look at it early, then you redo it.
Okay, so if I go and look at the men's, you're telling me I should see a different number. Is that what you're telling me?
You should see a higher number for the men, usually, traditionally.
I'm gonna do it real quick right here before we. I know I said we're supposed to be leaving and we're supposed to be signing out, but see, since people asked, and these are people who support the show, they're curious. Oh, it was different. Okay, so the men was 2709. So that's an increase of about 500 people.
400.
Oh, okay. 23, 12, 20. Yeah, I guess. Sorry. Good math. All right. You got it. So there you go. 23-12 for the women, 27-09 for the men. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday's ONG Strike Zone EA. So we'll talk about that. So make sure, I know you'll be there. But we'll talk more about attendance. I'm going to begin, as Edwin said, I'm going to begin putting my numbers together so that by when Dr. Cavill's mid-season report, I know he'll ask me for the data, and I will have the data ready to present to the class about the impact of attendance in the SWAC with its new format. Edwin says, did they have clear liquor? Yes, Edwin, there was some clear liquor. Put it like this.
If they sell solo cups, that's all I want to know.
No, it was the clear white cups, the clear and white's two different things. It was the clear cups, but I could clearly see, I recall visually somebody had a cup and there was something brown, and I don't think it was apple juice. I'm just gonna say it like
Coca-Cola.
No,
excuse me. FAMU's a Pepsi school. Pepsi Cola.
No, it was too light. It wasn't that dark, and there was no ice. That was another tip off that.
Ginger ale.
Could have been wine. You know what? Now that I think about it, could have been wine. Anyway, you're asking too many questions, Edwin. Too many questions. All right.
Let us do what we do in Tallahassee.
Yes, exactly. Hey, have a great week, everybody. If you're going back to work, have a great week. Remember, be careful out on the roads. Those of you in snow-impacted areas, drive safely. Don't forget schools. Kids are going back to school, so you got to have your sensors alert. They're not
Stop
know
for
what the
those.
hell they're doing.
That yellow light on the bus means slow down, and that when that stop sign come out, that does not mean step on the gas on those school buses.
Yeah. All right. We gotta go. I gotta go watch the Vikings beat up on the Lions, and hopefully my 4 touchdown prop hits because I need a winner. Jesus, I need a night. That's going to do it. For A.D. Drew, I'm Bryan Fulford. As Drew said, we encourage everybody who's watching. We thank you. Hit the thumbs up and the like button and bring somebody new to the BCSN. In the course of the next week, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Tuesday and Thursday. Our Indy report with Dave, Tariq, Jeff, and Brandon King covering Hampton, North Carolina A&T, and Tennessee State, among other things. That show is Wednesday at 7 Eastern. The ONG Strike Zone, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, covering Florida A&M University. And then Carlos Brown should be back on Saturday, covering Southern and the SWAC on Saturday at noon, 11 Central. Right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll come back and do it again. We'll do a little bit better next Sunday. I will be more prepared, I promise. Yeah. All right. That's it. For A.D. Drew, I'm Bryan Fulford. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and watching us tonight. Be well. Have a great week. Be safe. Happy New Year. And peace out.
Travel light, everybody. We'll holler.
But you stay on hard.